The Greek State, from Aristocracy to Democracy, presented by Simon Oliver Morton. Agenda: Police, aristocracy, democracy, who had political influence, tyranny, and slave society. Police. Geography. Geography plays a critical role in shaping civilizations, and this is particularly true of ancient Greece. Greece's mountainous terrain led to the development of the police, or city-state, beginning about 750 BC. The high mountains made it very difficult for people to travel or communicate. Therefore, each police developed independently and often very differently from one another. Eventually, the police became the structure by which people organized themselves. Athens and Sparta are two good examples of city-states that contrasted greatly with each other. There was never any collection of Greek cities to create a bigger state like in Mesopotamia. Instead, the inhabitants would often integrate a few villages together to create a city-state that the Greek named polis. With the city as a rallying point, an administration center was created that controlled the inhabitants' area around it. If war broke out, the people could seek shelter in the city, which was usually built as a fort.
The aristocracy. An aristocracy is a form of government where the power lies in the hands of the few and the powerful. Aristos meaning best and kratos meaning power. These men were rich landowners who gained power due to their ability to contribute horses, weapons and other equipment needed in battle. Put in simpler terms, money equals power. However, around the 7th century, the aristocrats slowly started losing power to other groups. One of the reasons for this was their loss of power over the battlefield. As the blacksmiths developed cheaper and better weapons, money became less of a necessity in warfare. Hoplites. In addition to the aforementioned changes on the need of wealth, the gradual migration from cavalry troops to hoplites had much to say regarding the diminishing power of aristocracy. Hoplites were soldiers who were primarily armed with spears and shields, shield deriving from hoplon in Greek. They were primarily free citizens, farmers and artisans who owned property, who could afford the armor and weapons. The main tactic they deployed was the phalanx formation. Soldiers would line up in ranks in close order. They would then interlock their shields, and the first few rows would point their spears forward. This would present a shield wall and a mass of spears for the enemy, a defense who could prove difficult to defeat by means of frontal assault.
Who had political influence in a Greek state and who was ignored? Men were the only ones that had political rights in a Greek state. Those who were kept out in the cold were slaves and women. After a while, more and more men could vote and the aristocracy was slowly fading away. Tyranny. In many states, popular leaders would take the power alone because they had a large amount of followers in the society. To keep the power, the tyrant had to stay popular within the society. They could do that by building temples, institutions, or arrange big parties. They were called tyrants, and it basically means that a leader had taken the power. Slave society. The Greek society was a slave society, meaning that the slaves did a large amount of the work. The slaves were looked down upon as property. The slaves weren't looked at as an individual, like you and I. Although a lucky slave could win freedom, but the slaves and their descendants could never be citizens.